that where legislation is required for some.
Well, not in our submission. We haven't had feedback along those lines about the impact on iwi outside of our region in this context. But we do know that that the Iwi Leaders Forum has been involved in the Land and Water Forum processes and where these things have come out from. So we do have confidence that that is being discussed and it's not being left out.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, it is about arrangements with iwi. I sometimes get a little bit concerned that we're talking often to people who don't have the ability or capacity to understand what's happening. I'm not saying that iwi in Auckland can't, but I have to say that for my land, I will talk for my land, not iwi. So I would be very upset if we were to talk to iwi about my land, just as I suppose a lot of other people are. But I mean, especially for Maori land, there is another class of Maori land, in Auckland that is owned by Maori, and we would all have this same opinion that we will decide what is best for our land, and an arrangement made with council wouldn't, with a third party like an iwi group, we would be very concerned about. Have we thought about that?
I'd just note that the intent of this reform here is that it's up to the iwi to initiate the agreement with the council, and that it would be very much in the case of iwi's hands in talking to their own constituency about how far their mandate would go. And I think you would like to think that they would also think about the individual views of their own constituents. So, I think that's probably the key point to note here, is that this is about a vehicle that they may wish to utilise as an iwi. They don't have to, but it's there as an option for them. And then when they do decide to initiate any agreement with the council, then it would be a case of what would the mandate be in terms of how they relate to the council.
Okay, councillors, we've arrived at 12:30. We were going to stop at 12:30 for lunch. Is that the wish of the councillors, and then come back after lunch, or do you want to finish?
Finish it off.
Well, we've got two more speakers on this, and then we've got two more items to go. Okay, well, we'll go Councillor Quacks and Councillor Lee. Councillor Quacks.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm just, I picked up on what Councillor Cashmore said before. So I understand that we're suggesting that, or in the submission, that we don't agree with iwi participating in the planning of freshwater use, but we do agree that they should be consulted like any other party. Is that what we're saying?
So, through the Chair, I think, just to clarify, the consultation element that Councillor Cashmore was raising was more in light of how they input into consenting arrangements. I think that was more a feature of how that's done at a more operational level. So there's that aspect, but I think the other thing is that the involvement of Maori is very clearly an element of the National Policy Statement.
Well, yeah, I know it is, and because they're actually asking that council find a way to that Maori iwi can participate in the planning. That's right, isn't it? They say that that iwi should that council should show how iwi may participate in planning. And we should talk about planning. Planning and consultation are two entirely different things. If you have a group that is going to be involved in planning, another group that's going to be involved in planning, apart from the bureaucracy backed up or endorsed, and that's endorsed by the elected members, that's one thing. And but to arrange or to organise or to have another group participate in that planning process adds costs, complexity, the possibility of corruption, of endless delays. So I find it difficult to agree that we should agree that Maori would be involved in the planning. Maori should be involved, or iwi should be involved in consultation like any other part of our community, but I find it difficult to acquiesce to the idea that we would have another group of unelected people involved in the planning, and it just doesn't make sense in how we can deliver better freshwater quality, because that's what it's all about, by having an extra layer of another group involved in that, which really aren't accountable to anyone. So I want to make that point, because it's the government have said no one owns the water, no one, and that's I guess that's always been the case. No one does own the water. But what I see here is not so much a matter of who owns the water, but who controls the water. And control, if that is held by one group of people, that is dangerous, and that is akin to owning the water, in my view.
So just perhaps to clarify, that the nature of the feedback sought through this process is more about providing a bit more clarification about how iwi rights and interests are expressed, and so it's actually providing some sort of clarity to a number of other parties as to what is the extent of their rights, or sorry, not the extent, but the
interest.
How their interest is expressed, and so that so as a council, there's the ability for council officers and councillors to engage with iwi in such a way that they know kind of what their values and principles are for a particular water body. So this is sort of talking about trying to better make that explicit as to how some of those interests can be recognised.
I think this is consistent with our previous submission, isn't it, in relation to the the resource legislation amendment bill?
Yes, I think that's another. There's two things. One would be, firstly, that the council's position on the mechanism that's been proposed here, and our response to that is very much along the same lines as what was the council put through to the resource amendment legislation. Secondly, is that a number of the issues about how iwi are sort of involved, of course, are set out in the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management already, and these are just sort of some enhancements to actually provide better clarity as to how that should be made more visible or more explicit as to how that's going to be working in an operational sense.
Okay, Councillor Lee.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support the recommendations and the submission. By and large, I do have a couple of questions, and they relate to freshwater management units. How defined are these freshwater management units presently across the Auckland region, given there's a choice posed in the discussion paper between overall regional improvements or freshwater management unit improvements? How well are these defined across Auckland now?
Through the Chair, we've currently defined them around the catchments, so around the consolidated receiving grounds, the harbours. So that's where we've broken them down. It's more manageable there. We can understand how the catchment flows. So that's where they've broken down to. And it gives us a lot more...
Could I get, or later get some information about... Sure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
The second thing is, it's kind of curious that the government went to the trouble of getting together a national policy statement after much deliberation, discussion, and so on, and to come back and wanting to change it. And I think we have to be aware that there is an ambiguity running through this work, and that is trying to offset the increased pressure for more exploitation, commercial exploitation of fresh water, and offset that with the quite contradictory, on the face of it, aspirations, expectations, demands by the wider public, and real concerns at the degradation of water across the country. And so there is this ambiguity and trying attempts by the government to try and balance it, which I don't know if it's achievable, and I think we should, if possible, stick to basic principles of improving water quality, full stop. The other balancing act that's obviously apparent through this document is the political needs of the government and its relationship with iwi and at political level the Maori Party. And so a lot of this stuff is not really about water quality at all. It's almost about constitutional changes and power. And I think that we need to be very careful about departing from established Resource Management Act principles in terms of consultation with mana whenua. That doesn't mean to set up a number of different little governments across New Zealand, and that's the real danger if we keep on going down this path. All very well to people have aspirations to control water. Another thing altogether when people want to flip the ticket over water, whoever they may be, and I think that is a real concern. So I support the submission, but I would prefer that we our approach was more straightforward and not to buy in to the inherent ambiguity through this draft policy statement. For instance, my last point, question 2. Our response to question 2 is as ambiguous as anything the government could concoct, and I would prefer that that answer to question 2 was a lot more straightforward, and actually, rather than talking about supports the flexibility to maintain water quality, blah blah blah, it should be about maintaining and improving water quality on behalf of the people of Auckland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, no other speakers. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Aye. Against? Declare the motion carried. Thank you. We now move to item 13, which is the update on the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee Work Programme. Sanchez here.